The push-up is a really simple, great movement, but it has a lot of people make mistakes whenever they go to do a push-up. So there's really only one correct way to do a push-up. The correct way to do a push-up is to start out here, flat, hands right underneath your shoulders, and then go until your chest touches the ground, and then come back up until your elbows are at full extension. In order to facilitate that movement, you can go to your knees to make it easier. It's probably the most common way. Or for some of our new athletes that we have coming in the gym, we'll even let them get away with a worm push-up, at least for a little bit, before we push them to one of the harder accommodations. There are three ways that we see people mess this up. The first one is what I call the junior higher, because it's what I see, and increasingly I'm calling it the runner because it's what I see from junior high boys and runners. It's this right here where you've got your hands way out here, they're wide and they're way in front of your shoulders, and it's just sort of like this, where you're not really going down all the way, your head's doing most of the movement, your hands are out of position, you're putting a lot of stress on your shoulder. The second way is what I call the meathead, where you just come down here and you just kind of bounce, like you're trying to get your triceps swole, or this right here. We want you coming all the way to the top. And then the third is what I call the intimate encounter. It's probably the most tragic of the three examples, where you kind of come here and then you just dip at the waist. It's just kind of like that. And really that happens to a lot of athletes whenever they get fatigued. Their shoulders do start to go, but really their core stops being able to hold them up in that bridge position straight through the body. So a couple tips that will help you do this right is you want to line the web of your hand right here between the thumb and your index finger, right underneath your shoulder. And then the rest of your hand will be just outside of your shoulder. The second tip is you don't have to put your feet all the way together. You can have your feet apart a little bit. In terms of military guys, a lot of the instructions say that you can have your feet up to a foot apart. And that's probably about how far we have them. The third tip is really important because in the runner, in the intimate encounter, in both cases, typically the elbows are going out like this. You want to keep your elbows tucked in, right about there. So not all the way into the side like a yoga push-up, but definitely not all the way out here. Instead, just right in here. That way we can transfer the load from these little muscles here in the pec minor and the anterior side of the deltoid to the larger muscles of the chest and tricep. So that's the way to do a proper push-up, and 3 examples of how to mess it up.